Hello everyone, my name is Toni Darnell. I'm a master's student in voice performance and a research fellow through the Office of Student Research, and I will be talking about the In Tune project, which focuses on mental health advocacy and awareness through music. This project serves to explore the performing arts' role in relation to mental health advocacy and awareness. The culmination of this work will be presented in the spring of 2021 in the form of a concert, with each performance focusing on artists' personal experience with mental illness. The concert will also include access to educational material about specific mental illnesses, support, and navigating the care system. The event will be open to the community and will take place in an accessible venue in terms of cost and by ADA standards.
We gotta hold on to what we got. It doesn't make a difference if we make it or not. We got each other, and that's a lot for love. We give it a shot. Whoa, we're halfway there. Oh, living on a prayer. My hand is waiting, I swear. Oh, living on a prayer.
We have moved into a time of unprecedented isolation within the past few months, and during this time, we've seen music being used in these creative ways that cultivate togetherness and connect community members. As we see here, people have been using it to communicate and to break down barriers, even if those barriers are experienced differently by everyone. This feeling of isolation that we are all experiencing in the midst of COVID-19 related events is a similar feeling to the isolation that permeates throughout the community experiencing mental illness. This stems from complications including not being able to access care, not being exposed to information about mental health, and not having access to an understanding and supportive community. In fact, according to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration's 2017 National Survey on Drug Use and Health, 1 in 5 adults live with a mental illness, which totals about 46 million people. Of the 46 million, only 42.6% received mental health care. As someone who has lived with mental illness, particularly obsessive compulsive disorder, I identify with this feeling of isolation on a personal level. It was a long time before I could even identify my experiences as obsessive compulsive disorder, and once I did, I lacked the ability to find a community and speak about my experiences in a way that other people could understand, and being uninformed about available resources certainly contributed to this. The previously demonstrated neighborhood sing-alongs are just one of many examples of music working to overcome the barriers of isolation. With this in mind, I sought to answer, can music play a role in connecting those with mental illness to the resources they need in order to overcome their experience of isolation? I eventually focused on an idea that would bring music and mental health resources into the same space, a mental health awareness and advocacy concert in which artists would share their personal experiences with mental illness, and mental health professionals and organizations would be present with resources geared towards education, community building, and care accessibility. With this project in mind, a few other questions arose. What has been the public response to projects similar to this in the past? What interest level do artists and mental health professionals have in collaborating with each other? What resources are available at mental health organizations for projects of this sort? What are the creative ways in which artists and mental health professionals can collaborate? In hopes of answering these questions, I commenced the first stage of research, which was a review of literature from similar projects. A project in Scotland titled the Scottish Mental Health Arts and Film Festival is an arts festival formed in 2007 focused on promoting understanding and recovery while also reducing self-stigma. They also aim to cultivate positive interactions and contact between the subjects and perpetrators of prejudice. When I first explored the Scottish Mental Health Arts and Film Festival, it was a pivotal moment in my research. In the beginning stages of my project, I was actually more focused on what seemed to be changing the mental health care system, but this example helped me refocus my project on advocacy and awareness and gave me hope that a focus there can actually affect change. This is a project that engages 30,000 people each year in conversations about mental health through 40 different events encompassing a wide array of art forms. The event, while it focuses on promoting understanding, recovery, and reducing self-stigma, also focuses on creating new works of art formed by people experiencing mental illness themselves, as they found that an arts event could reinforce pre-existing prejudice and beliefs if it did not include meaningful contributions from people with lived experience. The events are also all free or very low cost, which reduces one of the main barriers to engagement with the arts and mental health care. I look towards the 100 Stone Project in regards to projects that focused on interdisciplinary relationships between the arts and mental health. This Alaskan-based project is focused on changing the attitudes and approaches to those who struggle with issues related to mental health, such as suicide, illness, trauma, and grief. The 100 Stone Project cultivated an environment where this was possible by implementing storytelling through the art of sculpture, where those who personally identified as vulnerable or as being close to those that are participated in creating the installation. The result was nearly 200 sculptural representations of these important stories. I had the pleasure of speaking with project creator Sarah Davies, and she shared the following statement within the analysis of her project. It is our experience that an attitude of shame or shaming and a movement toward isolative states like hiding or shunning, regardless of whether those attitudes come from one's inner or external environments, erodes an individual's cognitive, behavioral, physical, social, and fiscal resources for healthy living, putting them at significantly higher risk of actualized suicide than those who perceive themselves as honored, understood, and connected. The Scottish Mental Health Arts and Film Festival and 100 Stone Project are evidence of the power of storytelling through artistic means. The arts allow for things that can typically seem inaccessible to be understood by a broader group of people. This opens the door to easier communication regarding the experiences that come along with mental illness. The second stage of this project involved communicating with mental health organizations. I sent out a series of emails and made calls explaining the project, primarily focusing on possible collaborative efforts between the arts and mental health organizations with the goals of increasing awareness of mental illness, advocating for mental health, reducing stigma surrounding receiving care, and cultivating meaningful relationships between Chicago community members and mental health organizations and professionals. I reached out to organizations on the local and national level with like-minded missions of mental health advocacy and awareness, and I found a particularly positive response in my conversations with Renee Wilk, the executive director, and Kevin Lynch, the president of the Quell Foundation. The Quell Foundation is dedicated to promoting open, judgment-free dialogue to normalize the conversation around mental health. Aspects of their organization include scholarship for those experiencing mental illness, as well as survivors of those who have been lost to suicide. They also have a campaign titled Lift the Mask, in which people from all walks of life share their experience and identify as someone living with mental illness. In discussions with the Quell Foundation, we explored what a partnership with them would look like with event flexibility in mind. Some questions I posed to the Quell Foundation included: have you collaborated with artists before? Are there resources at your foundation that you think would be a good fit for this event? What would be your organization's main goals for a community event like this so I can better format the concert to highlight that? Do you have the ability to have someone from your foundation present at the concert? After this conversation, we arrived at the following conclusions. They were very happy to take part in the form of providing literature at the event, providing connections to people in the community who would be willing to share their stories, providing a screening of their Lift the Mask documentary. They are also committed to helping with marketing for the event, as well as providing connections for potential sponsors for the event, as I discussed with them the estimated costs of composer commission fees and venue rental fees. The organization as a whole values the arts, and they were overall excited at the prospect of a collaboration with artists. The next step of this project is centered around the artistic collaborators. As was discovered in the Scottish Mental Health Arts and Film Festival, it's crucial that the people partaking in the art making are those who have personal experience with mental illness. This ensures that their voices are heard and their experiences are portrayed in a way that is honest and sensitive to their needs. My initial contact with artists included gauging interest. In conversations with my colleagues, I provided a brief description of the project and an estimated timeline. From these conversations, I began to understand what composers would be comfortable sharing. I then reached out on a larger forum through social media. Social media allowed for accessibility for a wide array of musicians and extended my reach outside of the conservatory. It was important to me to contact people from different backgrounds and in different stages of their life, as mental illness can affect anyone at any time. I created a post that again described the project briefly and explained why the project was important to me on a personal level. I invited musicians of any kind to contact me if they were interested and wanted more specific details, or if they had any questions. This post saw quite a bit of engagement. People reacted positively, they shared their own personal experiences and told me stories and sent videos, even if they weren't musicians, and it was eventually shared again by 11 people. From this post, I received messages from composers, songwriters, and performers, all expressing their interest in being involved in some capacity. I eventually developed a list of 15 people who asked to be contacted with more information. In the follow-up email, I included a description of the event in depth, including information about the event's mission to collaborate with mental health organizations and connect Chicago community members to mental health resources. I emphasized the goal to create a space for the artists as well, where their voice can be received in a space that is welcoming and supportive of storytelling. And at the end, I invited any questions or concerns they might have, or any ideas they might have for collaboration in a different way. As this project is slated to take place in April of 2021, there are aspects that I plan to develop in the future. Next steps include a venue search that is centered around accessibility for the community, raising money for the composer commission fees, and continuing development of a roster of musicians who would like to partake in the composer's pieces. Thank you so much to the Office of Student Research and Dr. Nussbaum Barberina for supporting this project, to Allegra Montanari for being my research advisor, Dr. Kerr, Sarah Davies of the 100 Stone Project, and Renee Wilk and Kevin Lynch of the Quell Foundation.